This person has been waiting on the line for a while, so I am going to try to get them in real quick. We are going to Mexico. Rostaman, he, him, has a question for J. Mike about metaphysics and ontology. So this is for you, J. Mike. I want to try to get this in before you got to bounce. Hey, Rasta, you are talking with SR and J. Mike.
Can't promise I'll have much here.
Got the best hair on the internet with these two hosts, I'm telling you.
That's right.
Oh, thank you. They're metaphysically the best, whatever that means. I'm still trying to understand what metaphysically really means, as it's used by so many different ways.
I'll keep it real short since you only have 18 minutes, and let's get to the juicy BS calls.
Yeah, no, take your time. We got Scott to come in and field some calls, or however secular it can go. So yeah, no worries. Take your time if you need.
That's all right. No, I'm equally confused. Let me give a quick background. And J. Mike, I talked to you briefly once on an after show on Discord. Kind of picked your brain a little bit. But
okay.
I'm a software developer and an electrical engineer also. So, and also in college, I had courses in logic, or a course that had some logic.
You can't know the hardware and then say also. I can't put myself in that camp with you. I can't even get my webcam to turn on.
From CS and EE training, I know a lot about truth tables and logic.
Oh, awesome! That's great.
Software domain, but I can thank the precepts for the last year, if I can thank them for anything, to kind of pique my interest in philosophy, which I never really had as a left brain engineer. And so I've developed that, and J. Mike, and also SR, and you other guys that everybody's that does atheist shows, or from precept calls and et al. You're going to have to deal with logic and philosophy on a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
But so
it's funny how they don't really know it though. They're like the worst at philosophy.
Right. So that's why
they're like literally like across the board the worst.
So as I was learning a little bit more about it, and intuitively, I thought, well, ontology. And as I learned more about ontology, none of us have a direct access to ontology.
Mm.
I was looking in the SEP. After that, I was kind of surprised. Like, wait, ontology, that's a subset of metaphysics. I don't know if they call it general metaphysics or something like that. But then when I backed off and thought about it a bit, intuitively, I think none of us have direct access to anything ontological. It makes sense to me that intuitively that that belongs in the superset, umbrella of metaphysics. And God, am I going about it the right way? Is that why? Well,
I actually have a question for you on this. Well, no, I have a question for this. So, like, because maybe I want to make sure I'm like picking up what you're putting down. Like, so if like you hear like these kind of like debates on like philosophy of mind, so like physicalism, idealism, property dualism, substantialism, like those kind of things, are you telling me you're kind of like you're kind of looking above this and going like, you all are kind of staking your claims here in a weird way, but it seems like you equally just are like limited on like defining physicalism or this mental property stuff. Are you like kind of pushing back on the way that those are categorized and like very skeptical about that? I'm curious if that's your route.
Not necessarily, but as I learn about nominalism and physicalism, and I'm definitely not an idealist, but conceptual.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you're like pushing back on these like carvings and stuff ontologically.
Oh, I'm not pushing back on it, J. Mike, per se. Maybe not at all. Still trying to study more, but I'm not going to really categorize. We can bleed over to different categories. Right? So I can be a nominalist and still, think axiomatic principles are real. Anyway, in an axiomatic way. But no, let's say I'm not pushing back on it, especially because I'm still learning, right? So I don't want to take any.
I suspect you might. I suspect you might push back on it. I mean, I do. I find a lot of the way that these things are carved up, the more times that the more as time goes on, that it's like, it's not really clear what's being expressed. It's like this really easy way to box you kind of in and get a vague kind of idea of things. Maybe there's something more substantive in the physicalist, idealist kind of debate or whatever. But the reason why I'm dubious about this is because like when I go to compare the views and I want to know what view's better, I think the point that we compare on this like philosophy of mind stuff is input of perception. What explains, like, just as an example, like what explains why I'm seeing a tree rather than a bush? Now, if you're a quote unquote like physicalist or whatever, or an identity theorist, you're gonna be like, well, there is an actual external world. There's actually a tree. I have neural processing. It furnishes my content. There's this nice relationship. Somebody has some mental disorders or like, schizophrenia, or like they hallucinate or something like that. It'll explain at the level of the brain why they see this rather than the stuff we see. And you get this full nice explanation. When I talk to idealists, I've started to become like dubious about this, that I'll talk to people who are like analytic idealists, the Bernardo Kastrup types. And it's not clear that there's actually any difference between our view, because I'm like, oh, you're an idealist, so you don't think there's like an external world. There's just these like mental representations. And it seems like you get into this weird skepticism. They're like, no. I do believe there's an external world, right? There's these mental stuff and they furnish our content. The tree furnishes my content. That's why I see that. But when we drop the labels like idealism and physicalism, and I give you kind of the story of neural processing and a tree furnishing my content, that's what I'm talking about. And if there isn't a substantive difference, then the thing that I become skeptical of is like how we use these kind of ways of categorizing beliefs, that it makes it feel like we have some real substantive difference, but I don't really know that there is. Now, obviously, like most idealists, there's clearly something going on that I don't believe in, because they think that like there's just this mental content, right? And they can't explain why it's that way rather than another way. I think
unless I'm looking at it or something like that.
Yeah, or you get like the Berkeley, and you get into these weird skeptical scenarios. But I get really weirded out when I'm like, oh, I can't even use my objection that I usually use against idealists against this guy, because it sounds like he's saying all the same stuff I'm saying, but he's using the term idealism or analytic idealism, and that's where I start to become like kind of dubious on certain ways it's cashed out. And I'm like, okay, fuck the label, like me calling me this or that. I'll just explain to you what I mean, right? As a nominalist, I'll just tell you what I mean. And that, like, if you listened earlier in the call, the redness example or the truth predicate example I gave, those are examples I would give on why I'm a nominalist. I don't need to like give an argument necessarily. If someone really wants it, I can give that, but I can explain what I mean and why I believe what I believe. And I don't need to like, I'm trying to use less of these terms, and I think the audience is like celebrating, like, fuck yeah, because it becomes a little bit weighted down of nothing. There's really nothing there sometimes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well,
philosophy and philosophers are fucking a lot of this up. Man.
Yeah, it sucks. Some of them are great. Yes. I say 5% of metal is fucking awesome, but 95% of it sucks.
Unfortunately, sometimes people get a little high on their own farts, don't they, Rasta? But we appreciate you, man. We are gonna let J Mike get out of here in just a minute, so we're gonna let him say bye. But thank you so
Rasta,
much.
Did you have like just real quick to make sure there wasn't anything that like I talked completely over you on? I'm so fucking bad at it. I gotta be better. But is there any did you say your piece?
Because last time you were a little more reserved. So no, I'm building up my knowledge. So I just want to give a little foundation, J Mike and SR. You guys really
awesome.
Got me to think about, and I'll call back and we'll talk a little more about this. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'd love to get more of a personal connection, maybe through email or something, and we can. No one's taking me up on these offers as I knock my mic off my desk. No one's taking me up on these offers that.
Email.
So I think it's still, you can have jmike at atheist-community.org, but one of them has kind of my full name, and I like my private life and stuff like that, so I try to keep that out of it.
The crew can put up that email, I know, on the screen, and I believe it is the ACA TV at atheist-community.org. TV at atheist-community.org.
Easiest way to
time, brothers.
Yeah, and easiest way to get to me is _J Mike on TikTok. If you want to hear debates that I'm in, that's usually where I'm at debating, and you can join the panels and we can have a great time.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Rasta. We greatly appreciate you, brother, and we are gonna.
J Mike, appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man.
Appreciate you, man.
We're gonna move on, but